Wonderful!
What is up? GoodMicWork commentaries back at you with episode 470. I am your host, Greg Morgan, and we have got a whole lot of nothing to talk about this week. I am sorry to say that it was a very uneventful week of WWE TV. Unfortunately, really not a whole lot to talk about as far as Raw and SmackDown goes, so I'm going to try to come up here and do my best with this episode. I know I say this every time, but this one might be a little bit shorter than some of the other podcasts. I usually find a way to keep talking and make it a decently long episode, but I really think my reviews of Raw and SmackDown here are going to go by pretty quick, aside from a few thoughts and opinions on some of the big stories going around. For those of you who might have seen, I was home on Monday night to watch Raw, and I came up live after the show. I talked for 3.5 hours. So there is a 3.5 hour live stream on my YouTube channel right now. If you've not yet seen it, I will also put a link up in the cards in the top right-hand corner of the screen here. I did score Tuesday night off as well at the last minute, so I was able to watch SmackDown live and also live tweet during the show. And talked with some of you a little bit throughout the thing. And that was a really difficult show to kind of pay attention to as well, because we're kind of in that limbo area right now. This is already a down time of the year anyway. I've said for years that November and December just tend to be very quiet. I can never remember anything too exciting going on during these months. And I have pitched in recent years the idea of an off season and giving the entire roster the entire month of December off. And during Raw and SmackDown, run year in review shows, run a live Slammy Awards, do special episodes, just do bullshit throughout that month. Let your talent rest for 30 days, bring them all back on January 1st and start building towards WrestleMania. But not only is WWE nowhere near doing anything like that, they're going in the opposite direction and making everybody work on Christmas Day. So that's really the next big show for Monday Night Raw. Other than that, they're not on pay-per-view again until the Royal Rumble. And SmackDown, we're still several weeks away from Clash of Champions. So both of these shows just have a lot of time to kill. And when you look at Raw and SmackDown this week, it seemed like we could have just gone this week with no wrestling. We could have picked up next week, and it would have been like nothing ever happened. I think these were really just time-killing shows, just loaded with filler and a lot of bullshit. And there was only a couple of storylines to kind of take a turn. So, like I said, without those instances, without Matt Hardy and Mojo Rawley, what in the fuck are we going to talk about here in this episode? But like I said, I'm going to do my best. Why don't we start with Raw first? I'm going to begin with the Roman Reigns stuff. He was out there first, opening up the show, cutting a promo with the Intercontinental title. They showed footage of The Miz getting his ass kicked last week, not only in the match with Roman Reigns, but also after the match when he was beat up by The Shield on the ramp, when he was cutting a promo and talking shit. So I guess that was kind of WWE's way of writing him off of TV for this week. So as Roman is in the ring cutting a promo, he is then interrupted by Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel. They come out to the stage, start talking. They are then joined by Elias. Winds up challenging Roman Reigns to an Intercontinental title match. Because in Roman Reigns' promo, he was saying that he was going to be a fighting champion, take on all comers, shit like that. So Elias is the first one to step up to the plate and challenge him for the Intercontinental title, and his request would be granted. These two would face each other, I think, at the top of the second hour. I kind of thought that was going to be the main event. I thought it should have been, but it wasn't. But the match was actually really good. I enjoyed Elias versus Roman Reigns. This was a good match for Elias to have. A lot of people were kind of talking and chatting on Twitter that this would have been a really good night for him to win the Intercontinental title. The Shield was not at full strength because Dean Ambrose was off on his honeymoon with Renee Young. It seems like they got married a while ago, but he's just now getting around to being granted the time off to go do this with Renee, so he's not on the show. A lot of people thought that Elias might win it. I didn't see it happening. I really didn't. And the guy just has a good look. He's got charisma. He's good with that guitar. He's a good talker. I think there's potential there. And he looks great. He looks like a combination of Damian Sandow, Macho Man Randy Savage, and Hercules all put together or something. I can't quite describe it. And he's nearly the same size as Roman Reigns with very similar athletic ability. So the match turned out to be really good, and Elias had a really good showing for himself. He did wind up falling short, got hit with the spear and got pinned, but definitely left the match with nothing to be ashamed of. This was not a squash. He took Roman to the limit, and there was even the spot after the match where Roman is kind of kneeling over him after the win, and it kind of reminded me of what The Undertaker used to do sometimes when certain guys would take him to the limit. I remember like Heidenreich and some of the other guys that he was kind of working with in the early 2000s there when he returned as the Dead Man in 04 and 05 and stuff. He would be taken to the limit in some of these matches, wind up winning, but kind of staring them down after the match like, damn, I cannot believe that guy fought that hard. And I think this can only lead to more things for Elias, and it was good that he was involved in this big-time match for a title against WWE's poster boy. So that's a pretty big deal for Elias. I was not upset that he didn't win. I didn't think it was really the time for him to win this week. I know a lot of fans are going to say, oh, he should have won the belt. It would have been great for him. But Roman Reigns is not going to be a 1 week transitional champion. If they wanted to put the belt, the Intercontinental title on Elias, great, no problem, no arguments for me. If that's the case, he would have just then beaten The Miz. But maybe they wanted him to beat a babyface. So if they were going to have a 1 week transitional champion, it would not be Roman Reigns. It would be somebody else. Somebody else would beat The Miz, and then Elias would beat that guy. So I really didn't see an Elias victory here on Raw. And plus, you know, the way they're building Roman, and we hear the rumors of WrestleMania, we hear the rumors of Brock Lesnar. Hopefully WWE either tweaks this or changes the match outright and it doesn't become this predictable match between Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. But if that is the plan internally inside of WWE, what I see them doing storyline-wise is having Roman go on a long run with the Intercontinental title. I mentioned this in my commentary last week in episode 469, that maybe he actually goes into WrestleMania as the Intercontinental champion. Not necessarily to do a title-for-title thing. I referenced WrestleMania 6, Hogan and Warrior, World Champ versus IC Champ. Maybe Roman's belt isn't even on the line, but maybe he is champion going into WrestleMania. And that gives him kind of a built-in storyline with Brock Lesnar, because otherwise, how does Roman get the title shot? He's going to have to win the Royal Rumble. We don't want that. So you can have a SmackDown guy win the Royal Rumble, and then Roman Reigns can be successfully defending the Intercontinental title against literally everybody on the roster and having one successful title defense after another, to the point where around late January or after the Royal Rumble, Roman Reigns can cut a promo and say, hey, I'm the champion of Raw. I'm the guy with the singles belt here. I'm the guy working every single week and every pay-per-view defending this title. This is the most important title right now in WWE. The Universal title, our biggest title, is sitting up in Canada somewhere while Brock gets blowjobs from Sable. This is bullshit. I'm the champion of Raw, and I think I should be rewarded with a bigger trophy. And I want that trophy on Brock Lesnar's shoulders. Then there you go. The match is made for WrestleMania, and Roman kind of has a story to go with this. I'm the champion. I'm the guy with the belt and the gold, and I'm here every week, and I'm not sitting on my ass, you know, and that can lead to the match with Brock. That would be better, I think, than Roman Reigns winning the Royal Rumble in Philadelphia again. And I've pitched the idea of having Cena and Roman being the last two, and Cena getting a little bit of revenge from losing to Roman back in September. Maybe they're the last two in the ring, and Cena tosses Roman out, gets the title shot, and goes on to beat Jinder Mahal or whoever the hell at WrestleMania to break Ric Flair's record, which means Cena and Roman could both walk out of WrestleMania as world champions, and that would be a fucking nightmare, don't get me wrong, but that's some of the ideas I have that WWE could potentially do. Not saying I want that to happen, so don't have a fucking aneurysm in the comments. I'm just saying, you know, that might be the direction they're going in, and if that's the case, you got to wonder how long Roman Reigns is going to hang on to that Intercontinental title. And I think he should have a long run with it. But right off the bat here, he's got a major challenger. He just survived Elias, and then after the match, as he's celebrating, walking away on the ramp, he's attacked by Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe comes from behind, locks him in the coquina clutch, and chokes him right out there on the ramp. And there you go. Bada boom, bada bing. We've got another Intercontinental title feud and another feud for Roman Reigns here on the horizon. Looks like Joe is going to be his next opponent. So what do you do now? Do you put the belt on Samoa Joe? That's what the fans are going to want. I'm fine with that. I think Samoa Joe needs to hold a singles title in the WWE. He already came up short against Brock Lesnar for the Universal title. Giving him the IC belt, I think, would be good for him. But at the same time, he owned some victories over Roman Reigns already earlier this year, and maybe this is Roman Reigns' chance to go on a run and build for Brock. Just like, you know, Brock has beaten guys like Samoa Joe, then he beat Braun Strowman, which, looking back, we'll talk about Braun Strowman in a minute and what he would do later on in the show with Kane. You know, looking back now, what was the point of even having that Brock Lesnar match? They could have kept these guys separated and gone in different directions and everything would have been fine. They could have saved that confrontation for a much bigger show instead of just doing it at a random pay-per-view and having Strowman get beat with one F5. It was fucking horseshit. So maybe Roman Reigns is going to do something similar. If they're going to build him for Brock at WrestleMania, he's probably going to have to survive Samoa Joe. And the fans aren't going to like that. because, with the internet fans and the YouTube fans and the highly critical fans, 101% of them are going to prefer Samoa Joe over Roman Reigns. So that's going to be tough for the WWE to pull off without the fans shitting on Roman even more than they already do. And speaking of Brock Lesnar, he is going to return to Monday Night Raw, I think on December 18th. That's the day after SmackDown's Clash of Champions. So that's coming up in a few weeks, and I guess that's when they're going to start building for the Royal Rumble. So we will figure out whoever Brock Lesnar is going to be facing at the Royal Rumble probably around that time. Maybe they'll do a number one contenders match on that Christmas Day show. Right now, a lot of people were speculating that it would be Finn Balor. There is a story going around that Vince McMahon has soured on Finn Balor and doesn't want him challenging for the title anymore. We don't even know if that was legit. We don't know if Finn Balor was really going to face Brock Lesnar at the Royal Rumble, but whatever the case is, it doesn't look like he's going to face him now. AJ Styles and Brock tore the house down at Survivor Series, and I think a similar match for Finn Balor could really help him. AJ was already established and loved by not only the fans, but also WWE. Finn Balor, with these stories of WWE, not sure how they feel about him, not thinking that he's over or he's bland or whatever the fuck. I disagree. I think Finn Balor's amazing, and I like the Demon better, don't get me wrong, but what he lacks in charisma, I think he makes up for in entrance and respect from the fans and his ring work, and I think he's more than capable of working on the top level, and they've already put the belt on him once, but he got injured, so why they're taking this opportunity away from him, I have no idea. Maybe he still does go on to challenge Brock Lesnar at the Royal Rumble. That would be nice. That's what I'm hoping for, but whatever they do, I guess we're going to start finding out on the 18th when Brock comes out and Paul Heyman cuts a promo and he starts talking about maybe he'll call somebody out outright, or maybe they'll do a match or a series of matches to determine who's going to challenge Brock at the Royal Rumble. So I guess we really won't know anything for a few more weeks. It is possible that Joe can take the Intercontinental title from Roman Reigns. If that happens, you will hear no complaints from me. But if the Brock Lesnar plans at WrestleMania are in place, and that is what WWE is going with, and they are not changing their minds, then I think Roman needs to win between now and WrestleMania. Aside from a few bullshit endings, maybe he drops the belt prior to WrestleMania because of a Shield breakup. Maybe Dean Ambrose goes heel or whatever they do there. So that could wind up costing Roman his belt in the future. But for right now, I think he's going to hold it for a little while because I have a strong feeling that Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose are going to be wearing the tag team titles again because Seth Rollins took on Cesaro in another excellent one-on-one match on Raw. I will say this, between Elias and Roman and Seth and Cesaro, we were treated to some decent wrestling on this show. And Seth and Cesaro went a couple of commercial breaks even. A really good finish to that match with Rollins catching Cesaro with a pretty good super kick and then going right into his knee finisher thing. I thought that was great. Got the 1, 2, 3. And did you notice that they took out the burn it down part of his theme song when he comes out in the beginning? And I think the fans still chanted it, but it wasn't there. And that's kind of weird because I kind of liked that addition to the theme song. And to me, it's just one of those decisions, like, why would they even make that decision to take it out? The fans don't hate it. It was a good way to kind of spice up his theme a little bit. It lasts for a couple of months and now you take it away, and I would really like to know what the reasoning is. It's minor, it's not a big deal, it's not something that's going to bother me at the end of the day. Who fucking cares? It's just a theme song. But why was the decision made to even do that? Is that a Vince McMahon thing where he's just got to stick up his ass one day and he decides to change his mind on something ridiculous? I don't know what the deal is there, but I guess that part of Seth Rollins' theme is no more, and it's a shame because I liked it. But after the match, after he defeated Cesaro, he was interviewed by Charlie Caruso, I think, in the ring. And he invoked he and Dean Ambrose's rematch clause for next week against Sheamus and Cesaro. So the tag team titles will be on the line next week on Raw. And I have a really strong feeling that Seth and Dean are going to win the belts. If they don't, they might drag it out another week and win the belts sometime in the future. But I think what WWE wants to do is to have all three members of the Shield holding titles together. They want to get this out of the way. It's a great photo opportunity. It's going to be great for the legacy of the Shield because I think they've done this once before, years ago. It was Seth and Roman that were the tag team champions, and Dean was the U.S. champ. And I think they were all title holders at the same time. I think I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. So if they recreated that and they did that again here in 2017, I think would be awesome. So I have a really strong feeling that Seth and Dean are going to wind up getting those belts back next week. Once that happens, the Shield can finally climax and hit their peak, and then they can start going in the other direction and figure out how they're going to break these guys up in the future going forward, going into next year. But, that's kind of where I see them going right now. The biggest probably news on Monday Night Raw, believe it or not, was what took place with Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy. Now, Bray Wyatt came out to the ring, cut a very, very, very typical Bray Wyatt promo that was boring, and I didn't even understand what the hell he was talking about. It was just a lot of words. And he is then interrupted by Matt Hardy, who comes down. They have a one-on-one match. Bray Wyatt beats him rather easily with the Sister Abigail. And I even tweeted out during the match, I said, imagine this match 9 months ago if TNA was completely out of the picture and Matt Hardy was able to come into the WWE with the broken gimmick. Bray Wyatt was even the first guy that we all mentioned when rumors that Matt Hardy could come to the WWE were swirling. And if he showed up there and becomes broken, Bray Wyatt was like the first guy we wanted to see him work with, because of all the crazy shit that they could do on WWE TV with those two gimmicks coming face to face. So it was kind of a lackluster match, nothing really going on. Matt Hardy is completely useless on Monday Night Raw without his brother. Regular Matt Hardy, I think, has nothing to offer to the roster, and I felt bad for him, and I even tweeted out as much, basically saying, like, this really sucks and it can be so much better. And then lo and behold, after Hardy gets pinned, the camera is kind of zooming in on Matt Hardy, who's sitting, resting in the corner. And I knew it right away. You could tell as soon as Bray Wyatt's music was turned off, you're like, holy shit, they're going to do something with Matt. Here we go. Camera zooms in on him, and he starts doing the delete thing with his hands, and the crowd starts chanting delete, 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 and he goes a little bit crazy there, and there's your tease. Holy crap. We're going to get some version of Broken Matt Hardy. I have no idea what's going on behind the scenes. I talked about this in my live stream on Monday. Maybe there's something I'm missing. I don't know if WWE has maybe worked something out with TNA, or maybe they've decided that there's some things legally they can do and there's some things they can't do. And we've seen how Matt Hardy has called himself Woken before. Maybe he's going to turn into Woken Matt Hardy, and maybe it's legal to do the delete chant and he can do the accent and the mannerisms and he can dress like him, but maybe it's illegal to use the name. I don't know. Or maybe WWE secretly called TNA and said, look, fuck pickles, let us throw some cash at you and give us this fucking gimmick. And I've said this before, when all this stuff first started between TNA and Anthem and WWE and the Hardys and the legal disputes and all of that, it just made no sense to me. It did not benefit TNA at all whatsoever to fight the WWE on this. They've got enough of their own problems going on right now. They don't need to mix themselves up with somebody that really they can't compete with. And at the end of the day, even if it takes some time, WWE is probably going to get their way. They usually do. And for me, it's just like TNA, you could use all the publicity you can get. Let Matt Hardy be that broken character in WWE. If it becomes hugely over, then you can do what you always do when a TNA star goes to WWE and makes it big. You can release a DVD on them and sell a bunch of them and make a few more $1 million. So you can have WWE pay you a big chunk of change, because we've heard about the pay issues with the wrestlers and that recent story of the wrestlers having to pay for their own fucking parking at the arena. Are you kidding me? You can use all the cash you can get. So I'm sure WWE is willing to financially compensate them to use the gimmicks, provided that price tag is not ridiculously high. They'll pay what it's worth. They'll pay within reason. And I'm sure they're willing to work out a deal. They've done stuff like that with TNA in the past, bringing Ric Flair in to do the Hall of Fame and sending Christian over there. And they've had a few other business dealings from time to time. So I don't understand why TNA would not want to cooperate with WWE. To me, it just benefits them to do that, and it doesn't benefit them to fight them. And now maybe something has been worked out, or maybe WWE is just saying, fuck it, we're going to go in our own direction. We're going to take kind of a version of the broken character, and we're going to make it our own and keep it within the legal rights and things that we can do. I don't know. But whatever they're doing here, it's something. That's guaranteed, because they teased it on Raw, and instead of Matt Hardy just doing a funny facial expression or, saying something here or there that lets out a subtle tease to the broken gimmick like he's done in the past, this looks like a full-blown storyline that they're going to do here. Matt Hardy will probably come out next week, lose to somebody else, maybe freak out a little bit more, and then as weeks go by, and probably not weeks because WWE rushes everything, probably very soon here in the near future, Matt Hardy will go nuts. And maybe we'll see that broken character, and that motherfucker will be riding down the ramp on a riding lawnmower. What else did we see on Raw? The new girls from NXT who joined Paige, they were back at it again this week. It was supposed to be a 6-woman tag team match with Sasha Banks, Mickie James, and Bayley taking on Paige, Sonya Deville, and Mandy Rose. Now, Sasha comes out to the ring first, and then her partners are nowhere to be found. They play Mickey's music, she doesn't come out. They play Bayley's music, she doesn't come out. So you know that the 3-woman group has beaten the hell out of these girls backstage. Sure enough, Paige comes out to the ramp. You know, she's got her faction in tow when she cuts a promo. And she goes, "What's the matter, Sasha? Where's your partners?" And then sure enough, up on the Tron, they show Mickey and Bayley both injured backstage. They were attacked. She goes on to now name this faction. They have a name for Paige's group, and it's called Absolution. It reminded me of Evolution. And on Twitter, I put Triple Paige, Sontista, and Mandy Orton to form Absolution. I can almost hear Evolution's theme song just with Absolution put in there. It's too bad Lemmy's not still alive. Motorhead could do an Absolution theme, would be pretty good. But anyway, they ended up offering Sasha a place in the group, and Paige is talking all sorts of shit on the mic. Paige, despite her time off, is actually very good and very comfortable on the mic. I think she's a good mouthpiece for this group because they did give Mandy and Sonya an opportunity to talk, and it was not good. I think Paige should do the majority of the talking there, but they got to start somewhere. And, I don't think either of these two girls are bad. They delivered their lines really without a problem, but you could tell they were both nervous as fuck. So they'll get better the more TV time they have and the more they practice on the main roster and they have an opportunity to speak and grow their characters. We'll see how it works. And Paige just basically tells Sasha that you can't beat us, you might as well join us. Sasha refuses, knocks Paige off the apron. The other two girls get in the ring and beat the hell out of her. And then the three of them kick the shit out of Sasha Banks. And later on, Asuka would take on Dana Brooke. Wound up beating Dana Brooke in literally like 3 seconds. Dana Brooke does a pre-tape as she's coming to the ring, and she's talking about how Asuka's a slow starter and she's going to hit her fast, and Asuka's not going to know what hit her. She jumps in the ring and lunges right towards Asuka, who immediately rolls her up into the Asuka lock and taps her out. So Dana Brooke was done in about 3 or 4 seconds there. After the match, the Absolution group comes back out to the ring again. They surround the ring, much like the Shield. That's what they've been doing. And they surround the ring and are staring at Asuka. It looks like they're going to pounce on Asuka. And I was ready to see it. As far as I'm concerned, Asuka would kick all three of these bitches' asses by herself. But they didn't do it. They left Asuka an opening. They only surrounded 3 sides of the ring, and the rampway was left clear. So Asuka just kind of nodded her head and backed off, and she walked away completely unscathed, never got attacked. You don't know if it's kind of a mutual respect there or what they're teasing. I think those 3 girls know better to get in the ring with Asuka, but there was 3 of them, and they didn't take the opportunity to soften up Asuka in any way. So, like I said, I don't know what they're going to do there. It looks like these 3 girls are going to try to tear through the women's roster, attacking everybody. They're doing something very, very similar on SmackDown, almost too similar, which I'll talk about in a minute. It's kind of weird. These 2 factions are nearly identical, the way they look and the way they behave on their respective brands. So there's not a whole lot of originality in this idea because they're doing it twice. As far as what else we saw on Monday Night Raw before we get into the main event, there was a fatal 4-way cruiserweight match. Now, backstage, I think it was Kurt Angle talking with the cruiserweights, and they are trying to figure out who is going to challenge Enzo next for the cruiserweight title. So Kurt Angle makes 2 fatal 4-way matches, one to take place this week, one to take place next week. The winner of those 2 fatal 4-ways will face each other the week after, and the winner of that becomes the number 1 contender and will face Enzo, in the future, whether that be the Christmas Day Raw, Royal Rumble, I don't know. So in the first Fatal 4-Way, we had Rich Swann defeating Daivari, Akira Tozawa, and Noam Dar to win that first match. He'll face the winner of the Fatal 4-Way next week, and then after that, we'll find out who faces Enzo for the title. So moving on to the main event now, this was all over the place. This was like 3 matches rolled into one. It was Kane taking on Jason Jordan, who claimed earlier that he was healthy enough to face Kane in a match. I can't even remember what happened here because I was preparing for my live stream, but Jason Jordan was injured, and I think the referee actually stopped the match or called for the bell or something like that, leaving Kane in the ring with nobody to face. That brings out Finn Balor. They go to commercial. They come back. Finn Balor is now taking on Kane in a one-on-one match. This match also goes nowhere because Kane gets disqualified when he hits Finn Balor with a chair on the outside of the ring. He then continues attacking Finn Balor, brings him in the ring, places the chair on his neck, and is about to jump off the middle rope and smash Finn Balor's neck and end his career and possibly his life, when sure enough, Braun Strowman's music hits. That was about as predictable as predictability can be. Braun Strowman has been smashed in ambulances, he's been locked in dump trucks, and he comes back every single time. I seriously doubt a little chair to the throat is going to keep him out more than a week. Comes down to the ring, faces off with Kane, no sells chair shots. Kane legitimately looks scared shitless, and then proceeds to beat the piss out of Kane right there in the main event, all on the outside of the ring, bashing him with chairs on the outside, on the inside. He brings the steps in the ring, and then does the same thing to Kane that Kane did him last week. and puts the chair on his throat and bashes it into the steel steps and actually does it a second time. And then Kane is the one retreating and breathing heavy and holding his throat. And, Braun Strowman stands tall to close out Monday Night Raw. And the funny thing about Braun Strowman that I mentioned earlier about his match with Brock Lesnar is that he still just looks like such a dominant badass. And the fans still get a huge kick out of him. When his music hits and he screams like that, the fans fucking love it. And there's just something about Strowman that's really fun for a big guy like that. And looking back now, I didn't really mind the match with Brock Lesnar before, but looking back now, it just seemed so stupid. After all of that momentum that you built up with him over the summer, the way he was defeating Roman Reigns every single pay-per-view and every single Raw and every single match they were in, it seemed like. He then goes in to face Brock Lesnar and gets pinned by one F5. Are we supposed to forget about that loss to Brock Lesnar? I mean, I think a lot of us have. WWE sure has. They're acting like nothing ever fucking happened. But why do that match to begin with? Brock doesn't need any more building. He's beaten everybody. He already tore through, roster for years and he defeated Samoa Joe. I guess they just wanted to give him all these big victories to where the one guy that's finally able to take him down is Roman Reigns. I get that. But as far as Strowman goes and how over the guy is, it's just... I think he's survived it. I don't think his career has really suffered for it. I think Strowman will still get title shots in the future, and I hope he becomes Universal Champion one day. I really do. But looking back, I kind of wish that match with Brock never happened. It's not even a matter of Strowman beating Brock. It's a matter of the match happening at all. I think they should have kept the guys separated a little bit longer going into next year. But if WWE, in their heads, they want Roman to take the belt from Brock, they figured, we better get this Strowman match out of the way now. And that's a shame because this could have been an epic match when it finally happened for real and it meant something. He seems just as strong as ever, and hopefully, he can one day be the top guy on Raw at some point, maybe next year. When Roman is champion, he can take the belt off of him or something like that. But, you knew he was going to come back out and attack Kane. He did. And now you got to wonder what they're going to do now. There's got to be some sort of a blow-off on the horizon. I've mentioned in previous commentaries it would be really nice if Kane retired and had this be his final program, putting over this big monster, this future of the company on his way out the door. I think that would be nice. If they stretched this out and did some sort of a big blow-off match, either on a major Monday Night Raw or the Royal Rumble, or even maybe WrestleMania if they stretch it out that far. Who knows? I don't think they can. You can't go for 4 months on Kane versus Strowman. You just can't. So I think they need to do something soon here. So, to me, it just doesn't feel like they're going to do that idea that I had for Kane and him retiring. I think doesn't seem like there's any plans right now for Kane to retire. But if he did, this is the perfect guy that he should work with last. So we'll see what they announce next week. We'll see what happens if Kane comes back, tries to get some revenge on Braun Strowman, or if he sits out a week and comes back in a couple of weeks. We don't know. Eventually, you got to think it's got to lead to one more match, cage match, fucking retirement match. I don't know. Maybe Braun Strowman gets so mad, like, put your career on the line against me, I'll destroy you and your career or whatever, and winds up beating Kane. That would actually be nice, I think. Imagine that scenario. Imagine Kane and Strowman having a segment on Monday Night Raw, and then Braun Strowman challenges Kane, and says, put your career on the line or whatever, and then Kane says, yes, I'll do it. They have a big match. Braun Strowman hits him with a power slam and wins. His music plays. He rolls out of the ring. Kane is laying there in the ring all by himself in the middle of the ring. Braun Strowman's music is turned off, and then the fans start clapping for Kane. He does the Undertaker sit-up. He pulls the mask off, salutes the fans, and says a goodbye to them. Maybe even cuts a small promo or something like that. Maybe off air. Maybe the roster empties out from the locker room. They line the stage, and Kane is, they form, just this pathway for Kane to leave, and they're all applauding him and shaking his hand on his way out. I think it would be nice to do something like that. A guy like Kane deserves some sort of a send-off like that. So if they were able to make something like that happen on a Monday Night Raw, especially between now and the Royal Rumble, we have so much time. But anyway, just an idea that I've always had for Kane and Braun Strowman. Doesn't look like any of that's even close to happening, but, in my head, I've maintained that would be a really good idea, I think. Otherwise, when the hell is Kane going to hang it up? And I don't want to see him just fade away into nothing. I want to see a character like that with so much history in the WWE and a lot of the fans' memories, because he was a big Attitude Era star. He's somebody that I think the fans would enjoy seeing have a send-off. But anyway, that's enough about Kane and Braun Strowman. I have been beating that horse to death every single week talking about Kane's retirement, but it's just something that I feel strongly about. Let's move on to SmackDown now. This is going to be quick. There ain't much to talk about here at all. They opened up by showing what took place last week with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn and Daniel Bryan and all of that. Shane McMahon is now in the ring. We knew Shane McMahon might be a little bit upset because he left SmackDown last week with the understanding that Daniel Bryan was going to fire Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. That didn't happen. Daniel Bryan put him in a lumberjack match instead, and then at the end of it, he still didn't fire him. And came out to the ring with Shane McMahon. The two of them are cutting a promo with each other. And Daniel Bryan says that you didn't bring me on to be a yes man. I thought that this was the better option. These guys are talented, like them or not. And, if we let them go, then Raw will just get their hands on them. And that would be stupid. So why don't we try to utilize this? SmackDown is supposed to be the land of opportunity. We're supposed to give guys with talent opportunities. And we're not doing that right now. So kind of explains himself. Shane is cool with it. And the funny thing is I mentioned this on Twitter, that we've all heard the rumors and the stories about Daniel Bryan and his health and his potential return to the ring. It is nearly a 100% guarantee. I think Daniel Bryan even said a number at one point, like 82% or something like that he will return to the ring. The problem is there's like a 0% chance that will be in WWE. So Daniel Bryan will wrestle again. And when he does, he's just going to wait for his WWE contract to expire, and he's going to go do that. But if WWE is willing to take a look at it, and get enough doctors' opinions, and they are convinced enough that he's okay, and they actually let him wrestle, or maybe let him wrestle part-time, maybe not full-time on the road, or maybe just come back to do one program, one match at a big pay-per-view, give the fans the opportunity to see him in the ring again. And if he did, who would he work with? What about his SmackDown compadre, Shane McMahon? They've been teasing some dissension there. Trust me, I'm not a huge fan of that idea, because if Daniel Bryan's going to come back to the ring, there is 100 other guys I would like to see him work with over Shane McMahon. But if WWE wants to keep him protected, if they want to put him in there with Vince McMahon's son, Triple H always works with guys too when they're a little bit iffy on the health side of things. So if WWE is really that nervous, maybe he can just come in there and work with Shane McMahon. To me, that's still a little bit dangerous, because Shane is not a trained wrestler and he's a little bit sloppy at times. He might wind up hurting Daniel Bryan, but you kind of get this feeling that something's going on between Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan. They've had a few disagreements in recent weeks and months. They've never been upset with each other, a couple of light arguments, but they're slowly teasing that something's going to have to change here soon. Daniel Bryan is going to do too many things to piss Shane off, to where eventually the two are at odds, or, Daniel Bryan's job is on the line or something like that, because Daniel Bryan cannot be the GM forever. He is either going to wrestle for the WWE again, or he's going to leave the WWE. Those are pretty much his two options. So his contract is up in about a year or so. Maybe WWE wants to start slowly writing him off TV. SmackDown might need a shakeup. Maybe Shane McMahon finally gets fed up with Daniel Bryan, kicks him out, and hires a new general manager of SmackDown, and the brand gets a little bit of a facelift. But Daniel Bryan is still super over, and when he came out on SmackDown, the entire crowd was doing the yes chant just as loud as they did in 2014. So a Daniel Bryan return to the ring would be huge money for the WWE. So I guess on some cases I commend them for not being greedy and going right after that money and keeping Daniel Bryan's best interest at heart, but really they're just too scared that if something happened to him, it could be horrible publicity-wise for the WWE. So I guess it's not a risk they're willing to take, but Daniel Bryan swears he's okay, and one of these days he's going to fucking wrestle again. And it would be nice if it was in the WWE, is all I'm saying. So maybe whatever's going on with Shane McMahon is something simple, to where it just eventually writes Daniel Bryan or Shane off of SmackDown if either one of them has either any plans of leaving anytime soon, or it actually leads to a match between the two of them. I think we're looking way ahead, but, the seeds seem like they have been planted there. So anyway, in the promo, Shane McMahon actually makes the advertised match between Kevin Owens and Randy Orton that was announced last week. That match is the main event of SmackDown. He is changing some of the rules to it, and he is going to ban Sami Zayn from ringside, and he's going to make it a no disqualification match. So why don't we talk about the main event right now? Sami Zayn barred from ringside. Kevin Owens and Randy Orton proceed to beat the shit out of each other, which is kind of funny because the two were beefing a little bit on Twitter. When Kevin Owens was sent home, Randy Orton has made fun of his weight a couple of times on Twitter. I'm not sure if these guys are just working the audience, or maybe they don't really like each other backstage and now they're working together on TV. And a no disqualification match, they beat the hell out of each other. They wind up brawling all the way up the ramp, and that's when Sami Zayn comes out and starts attacking Randy Orton with a steel chair. Because technically they weren't at ringside. I guess that's Sami's reasoning for coming out there. So he breaks the rules, sort of, comes out there and attacks Randy Orton. What they should have said is that he's prohibited from interfering in the match at all, and if he does, he's fired or something like that. So Sami Zayn will probably find a way to wiggle out of this and not get in trouble for it. But technically, he did not attack Randy Orton at ringside. And by then, Orton has been weakened. He gets back in the ring with Kevin Owens. Owens hits him with a pretty good-looking frog splash and gets the win. So Kevin Owens beats Randy Orton in the main event. I don't know what's going on with Randy Orton's hair. Did you guys catch that? Looks like he's growing it out. Just doesn't look right. Reminds me of how he was when he was really young. But the way it's shaved on the sides and it's growing up there in the middle, I say he's about 2 or 3 weeks away from being full-blown Rocky Maivia. So he better be careful. But, all in all, a pretty decent main event. But like I said, just not a whole lot going on either one of these shows storyline-wise. Moving on to what else we saw on SmackDown, we also saw the Absolution Stunt Doubles, the same faction that they're doing on Raw, of course, is on SmackDown as well. This group appears to be led by Ruby Riott. And for some reason, WWE has decided to add an extra T to Ruby Riott's name. I have no idea why. Just one of those dumb fucking decisions. Like maybe they thought the word riot was too edgy, so they added an extra T to it. They put an extra Z on Taz when he came over from ECW, too. I don't know what the hell WWE's motivation for doing this shit is. I'm guessing it's probably for copyright reasons or whatever, or trademark issues. That's the only thing I can think of, but it's just so annoying when you see dumbass little things like this and little details. They're constantly tweaking people's names up and dropping first names. So they've got a name for their faction as well, which is called the Riot Squad. She, of course, is joined by Sarah Logan and my sister Liv Morgan, and they are also going to have a 6-woman match, just like on Monday Night Raw. So not only do these groups look the same, act the same, they're having the same fucking matches. And they're actually taking on the team of Charlotte, Naomi, and Natty. Natty approaches Charlotte and Naomi backstage. She wants to join them and put their differences aside for one night to take on this Riot Squad or whatever the fuck. So they go out there and have the 6-man match. Of course, Natalya gets freaked out and she runs away, leaving her other 2 teammates high and dry. Naomi ends up getting injured in a pretty cool spot where I think Sarah Logan slingshots her into the steps that are leaned up against the guardrail. But it looked good and it sounded good, but they were like stretchering her out, putting her in a neck brace and the whole deal. I'm like, okay, it wasn't that big of a bump. She should be okay, but that kind of left Charlotte in the ring all by herself. She eventually got beat by the 3 girls and they beat the piss out of Charlotte. So Ruby Riott, Liv Morgan, and Sarah Logan are tearing through the SmackDown roster, much like Paige and Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville are doing over on the Raw side. So there seems to be a parallel between these two groups. I did read an internet story that maybe Paige is the mastermind behind all this that's going on both shows. So who knows? But it's kind of funny how, each faction has kind of got the goth chick and then each one has got the blonde bombshell. They kind of look alike and each one has the badass. With Sarah Logan and Deville. So, just an interesting parallel between the two. I can't tell if they're going to wind up being linked with each other and this is going to tie in somewhere in the future, or if this is just an extreme lack of creativity on WWE's writers' part. So I guess we'll have to wait and see there. Either way, I'm happy to see the NXT girls there, and I wish them all the best of luck. In some of the other matches we saw on SmackDown, we saw the New Day defeat Chad Gable and Shelton Benjamin. The Usos were doing commentary on the outside of the ring. Big E brings them all pancakes, pulls pancakes out of his tights, and hands them to the Usos. The same team that they just had a brutal program with and a Hell in the Cell match. Now he's giving them pancakes. I don't know what the fuck's going on there, but they were victorious over Chad Gable and Shelton Benjamin. We also saw AJ Styles defeating the Singh brothers in a handicap match. He comes out to the ring and he's attacked before the match even starts by Jinder Mahal, and the 3 of them beat the hell out of AJ Styles. He's still, after the attack, able to take on the Singh brothers in that handicap match and defeat them in a pretty cool finish where he gave the Styles Clash off the second rope to one of them on top of the other one. And that was really good. Wound up winning the match, pissing off Jinder Mahal to a point where he actually attacks and beats the shit out of both Singh brothers. I think we've already seen this before. We saw Shinsuke Nakamura have a handicap match against the Singh brothers, and I swear Jinder turned on the Singh brothers once before, maybe when he lost the belt, or I forgot when it was. But he's already beaten them up once, so it seems like they're just rehashing this whole thing again. I don't know if he's officially turned on the Singh brothers and they're not going to be with him anymore, or if they're going to accept the beating and stay by his side. I don't know. Chances are they might be right there with him next week on SmackDown. So they, of course, are building to the world title match at Clash of Champions between AJ Styles and Jinder Mahal, and right now, my money is on Jinder Mahal. Trust me, I don't want that, but it seems like what WWE's going to go with here. I think AJ is best wrestler on the roster. I love his work. I love him with the world title around his waist, and I thought he did a great job with Brock Lesnar, and I would like to see the two of them hook up again and have a rematch. It would be hard to pull that off. I don't know how they would do it, but they worked so well at Survivor Series that I would love to see part 2. in that saga. But right now, for storyline purposes, I think WWE might put the belt on Jinder Mahal. Unless AJ survives Clash and drops it at the Rumble to Jinder, I don't know. Creepy-ass Fashion Files segment where they're all handcuffed. They did a spoof on it. What is it? Saw? I never really saw any of those movies, but they're all chained. The Ascension and Breezango are chained in this room, and somebody comes on the monitor and says, you have 1 minute left to kill what you love most, and that'll be the key out of here. And then that little horse head that Breezango had weeks ago that was killed or whatever, that's there. They start tearing the horse head up. They find the key, and Breezango gets away while the Ascension is like, save yourselves, you're our friends. And they're like, we're not friends. They keep just insisting that they're going to be friends with Breezango. Breezango wants nothing to do with him. And apparently if they didn't get out of there in time in the 1 minute time frame there, a poisonous gas would be let into the room and they would be killed. That's what happened to the Ascension. So the Ascension died. We'll have to see if they make it back next week. Just as goofy shit as ever as it relates to the Fashion Files, but overall pretty entertaining segment. It usually is. In a bit of good news on SmackDown, it actually looks like we have a new United States title feud on the horizon. Bobby Roode is about to cut a promo backstage, and he's interrupted by Baron Corbin. Winds up leading to Bobby Roode challenging Baron Corbin for the title. On SmackDown, Baron Corbin refuses and walks away. But we have Clash of Champions on the horizon. Wouldn't be surprised at all if Daniel Bryan winds up making that match, and I also wouldn't be surprised at all if Bobby Roode wins the United States title. He's a former NXT champion. They're trying to make him a big part of SmackDown, and having him beat Baron Corbin might help get him over as a babyface. I don't know. I still think Bobby Roode would be better as a heel, but putting a belt on him, a major title in WWE right now, is probably what he needs, because Bobby Roode is no spring chicken either, and he's like 40 years old, so whatever you're going to do with him, you need to do it soon. So I was kind of happy to see that. That's a feud I actually think will be good, because, you know, Bobby Roode has a chance to come out of it with a belt, and I like Bobby Roode, so that's what I'm rooting for. And the final piece of news coming out of SmackDown, and probably the biggest piece of news coming out of the show, was actually Mojo Rawley turning heel. They have finally broken up the Hype Brothers, or the Hype Bros. You knew that was coming. The Bludgeon Brothers beat them in a squash, beat the shit out of them. And then finally, after the match, you knew it right away. It's like you can tell these days when this stuff's going to happen. I tweeted it out. I said, this is where the turn has to happen. And about 1 minute later, sure enough, Mojo attacks Zack from behind. They were interviewed in the ring after the loss, and it was a bad loss. And you could see Mojo kind of pacing around the ring there, and you're like, oh, here it comes. And sure enough, he nailed Zack Ryder from behind. I kind of thought Zack Ryder would go heel. I think Zack Ryder would be a better heel, and he's got more experience or whatever, but you know, having Mojo go heel, I think could work if they change him up a little bit. He's really good friends with Rob Gronkowski, and we know what kind of a douche that guy is. He's a great athlete, and he's awesome. I'd love to have him on my team. But there's something very unlikable about him, and I think if Mojo Rawley goes in that direction, you know, it's kind of a played-out gimmick. You know, MVP kind of did something similar, where he's just this hotshot athlete. Maybe he starts wearing nicer clothes and some sunglasses, maybe some jewelry, you know, starts chewing gum, talking real cocky, just being arrogant as hell, talking about how much money he makes and his women and all that shit, and turns into that type of character. You know, it's simple, but it might work, and he's going to be a guy that's easy to hate because nobody really likes him right now as it is. But he can't come out there as neon green tight-wearing Mojo Rawley bouncing around the ring, you know, like a fucking ballerina every week and expect to be a heel. He's going to have to do something else there. But at least this tag team is finally broken up. It sucks for Zack Ryder because I don't think he's going to go anywhere in this. He's just going to kind of be where he is and probably get killed by Mojo Rawley in some one-on-one matches as they start building to this guy's heel push. So we'll have to see where it goes in the future, but it looks like the Hype Bros are no more, and I am not shedding any tears over that. So there you have it. That is pretty much your Raw and SmackDowns in a nutshell for this week. Like I said, and like we just talked about, not a whole lot going on. So kind of a quiet time right now in WWE. Before I get out of here, I just want to mention a couple of other things. I talked about Kevin Owens earlier on. I did watch the Kevin Owens 365 documentary on the WWE Network. That was great stuff. If you guys have not seen that yet, please check it out on the WWE Network. It's well worth the time, and it's a good watch. And it chronicled, I think, from SummerSlam to SummerSlam 1 year of Kevin Owens' career. They showed a lot of shit from backstage. One of the most interesting parts, I thought, of the documentary was when he was backstage after his WrestleMania match with Chris Jericho, and Vince McMahon was not happy with him. and that was kind of interesting to see the cameras catch that. And all in all, it was a pretty good piece. So if you guys haven't checked out that yet, please do. I also wanted to briefly mention the Starrcade event, the live event the WWE held in Greensboro this past Saturday. Apparently that was a lot of fun. The fans had a lot of fun. I was getting some tweets from some of the fans that were there, and they said it was a really good show. Gave those NWA fans and those Southern Carolina wrestling fans some nice throwbacks. Arn Anderson even got in the ring and delivered a spine buster to Dolph Ziggler. How fucking great was that? You had Charlotte Flair, daughter of the Nature Boy, defending her title inside of a steel cage, which was great. It was like the first time ever a women's cage match had taken place in the Carolinas or something like that. I forgot what the statistic was there, but that was interesting. You even had Goldust coming out and wrestling as Dustin Rhodes, and wrestling as the natural Dustin Rhodes, and even playing his old WCW theme song, I thought was amazing. So it looked like the show was a lot of fun. Would have been cool if they aired this on the WWE Network. Maybe they can in future years or whatever, and hopefully this is not just a one-time deal. And it's something that they bring back, and I would love for it to be televised, or at least put on the network or whatever. But for a house show, for a live event, it was what it was, and it sounds like the fans had a good time, and they gave, that Greensboro audience a good night of wrestling. And I am very familiar with that arena. I've been in that arena to watch wrestling a million times throughout my life, and I have a lot of memories of going to the Greensboro Coliseum and meeting so many wrestlers and being there to see so many different time periods in wrestling. It was cool that WWE went back there and gave them that show, I guess, even though there's a whole lot of history with Starrcade and that time of year in Greensboro and the Survivor Series and the way that whole thing came to be back in the days of the wars between the Crockett's and the McMahons. But still, nice little throwback there, and it looked like the fans had a pretty good time. So that's going to do it for me this week. I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up and get out of here. If you need more Good Mic Work, please check back to my YouTube channel. I've uploaded a lot of live streams in the past few days, so there's a lot of hours of me just up there talking shit and talking about wrestling. So if you want to check out that, you are welcome to. I think the live streams are going to be a really good addition to this channel so far. They've been a lot of fun. It's a good way for me to add content quickly to the channel because there's no editing involved. And I'll probably even be doing some smaller little live videos here or there, like if a big story breaks during the middle of the day, or somebody unfortunately passes away or whatever. Instead of me coming up and trying to do a video on it, I can just come up and talk to you guys live for a couple of minutes. So you might even see things like that in the future when big news stories break. So I think it's going to be a good way to build this channel. So far, the views are really good on a lot of those live streams. I get a lot of new subscribers every time I do one. So I think that's a good way to grow the channel. So I'm going to continue it. This, however, will not stop. The podcasts are still very fun. I'll come up here on a weekly basis and talk wrestling with you guys, just like I always do, so you don't have to worry about that. I wish you guys a great rest of your week. As of right now, I don't know what my schedule is going to be like this coming up week. If I am off for Monday Night Raw and I am home live tweeting, I will come up again, just like last week. Pretty much any night that I'm home on a Monday, I'll come up and do a live Raw review and just chat with all of you guys. Most likely, if I decide to do a live review on Monday, I will give you guys a little bit of a heads up on social media. So keep a lookout for that. If you don't hear from me on Monday, you will hear from me in 1 week's time with episode 471. So you guys take care of yourselves. Thank you so much for listening, and I will talk to you very soon. Until next time, peace.